So we're going to open our footage by file open, clicking OK on our shot. And this is different between open workspace, which will open a project file. And so we have a timeline here, and we can cycle between play modes when our playhead gets to the end. And we can shift where our playhead stops and repeats. And if we turn off feedback, when we scrub, we don't see the footage moving underneath it. So you have caps lock for feedback, and animate is the A key. Now you have your cache down here, and you can clear it just by right-clicking, clear, and flushing the cache. Now, by hitting the tilde key, we can go into the node mode. And if we go down to our favorites, grab a paint, we can see that our layer mode has been updated because we updated our nodes. And if we want to see this workspace, we just go preferences monitor, and we turn floating on. And if we and while we're in here, we're going to make sure our frames we're painting all for one paint stroke is on every frame. That's what we're doing with that setting. So we're going to make a paint stroke, and we're going to see what happens when we click the pen pressure button. So right now, this is the one without, and this is one with. And when we hit tab, we can enter into vertex mode, and we can animate these vertexes. This is really important because now we have 2 layers of animation for every paint stroke. And this is the one without. Now we have object layer animation. So we can animate this as a whole, and you can see it moving along. But if we go back to the object mode in this paint stroke, we can animate the second layer like so. And if we go down to timeline, we can see our keyframes with the brush stroke. So that's the object layer. And now this is vertex. You can see the vertex keyframes right here. So we're just going to delete this and create a new brush stroke, and we're going to do some beauty work now. So we're going to go make a paint stroke, make sure it's on reveal, make sure that our frame is unlocked, and we're going to the current frame. And we're going to control click, but we're going to resize, make sure that we can control drag and adjust the size. And if you want to fall off, you can use the gradient, this brush gradient curve here to create custom fall offs. Now we're going to control click and drag, and just paint up some skin underneath the eye to take away the fleshiness and some of the lines. And back into the modes, we can see that where we're sampling from is the current, what's being fed into the node. And we're doing it at that frame source. And this is the offset, where we're offsetting from. So every time we double click, we have the calculator mode, and we just can punch in our numbers that way. So every paint stroke has a tracker assigned to it. So we're just going to go to the tracker tab, do position, adjust the source and reference and a search region. And we're going to go to roaming, and we're going to do about roaming 80%. And that's a really good setting for almost everything. And we can see the tracker places the vertex the tracking animation at the object level. So now we're animating on top of the tracking data. And we're just gonna, a technique I always use is just take it off and put it back where it feels like it should. So we can turn on and off and see the results. And now we're going to do the other eye. So we're going to focus on the kind of diagonal line that defines kind of the tired look of this person. And we go tracker, position, search region, and sample source. We go rotation too. So we're just going to grab the corner of the nose. And then we go down to roaming, around 80%, select all trackers, and analyze forward. Okay, now we can see. Now without animate on, we can adjust the Bezier handles and it'll carry through the entire life of the paint stroke. So now we're gonna kind of just touch the under eyes a little bit. Then we can control click on the spline to create a new vertex. Position, and grab the corner of the eye. Go down to roaming, about 80%, select all. That's just a habit. I just make sure I always have that select all clicked right before I do anything. It's just, it'll make your life easier if you forget something. Just burned into my brain. So now we're just going to play with where we're sourcing from. So we're on frame 0, go to the end. Where was it? Just animate where it's going to wind up. See what it looks like without the interface. Yeah, I mean, it's a little, you see a little darkness that's carrying through, so we're just trying to blend that out. You don't always have to get everything in one paint stroke. It's best if you just do little blending, like a little blending here and there. Just play with the opacity and blend it out, and then do another paint stroke to blend on top of it. So we're going to do another paint module, and now we're going to show how layers and layered nodes work. So we're going to do a new layer. It always puts the layer on top below things. I don't like that, so I always readjust that. We're going to rename the layer. And again, notice we made the layer on frame 0. Now if we don't do that, so if we disconnect that, make a new one at frame 24, you can see it starts the layer at frame 24. It's going to not carry through it, and it's going to repeat itself throughout the timeline. And we can see down here that's the life of that layer there. So always make sure you're on frame 0, and when you make a layer, connecting it doesn't matter, but making a layer does. So this is going to be our blur mask here. So we're going to go to the rotor shape, and we're going to go select mask mode, and we're just going to click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. Now that we completed the shape, we're going to turn off it being active in the viewport, but we still have access to our handles and to modify this spline. Okay, now tracking. We go to object mode, track, grab it, just grab the corner of the nose, go to rotation, grab the other corner of the nose, go to roaming, about 80%, analyze forward, and we're done. So now we're going to grab those vertexes that kind of animate as a plane off the face as the face moves in perspective away from us. And we're just going to grab all those, animate them at the last frame, correct the last frame keyframe. And when you're rotoscoping, the thing to do is to understand how to work with interpolation. Interpolation is gonna always be your friend. It's almost like magic when you when it works with you, because things just turn out a lot better. So first and last frame. And that's all you really need, first and last frame. You don't need a whole lot of keyframes, you just need two. So now we're gonna adjust the softness of this, and we go to gradient, we go to in and out, and we can adjust the fall off of the spline. So now we're going to do the eye shape. And we just click, 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 4 clicks around the eyes, and then adjust, control click, and drag out the handles. Put the mask, and then go to subtraction. Now we're going to track it on, just track the corner of the eye. Best place you're going to find is the corner of the eyes and the corners of the nose. These are the things that don't really shift and have really good points of contrast. Nose wiggles a little bit more than the eye. Well, the eyes don't really wiggle at the corners at all, so it's always go for the corners of the eyes, then get additional tracking information from the nose, unless you need a center frame, like really center of the face track, then you go to the corner of the nose. So we turn it on and off, and now we're gonna adjust the gradient, so in and out. Let's give it a nice fall off. So now we're gonna go to Gaussian blur. Just nice simple blur underneath it. We're not gonna do any crazy blurring. Just this to even out a little fine like textures in it. So we're gonna feed that into the mask layer. So we're cutting out the result of it. And we add a little noise on top of it. And this noise is really, really sensitive. So as you're gonna see, we're gonna switch it to monochrome. This is gonna give us a better result. Just adding back a little of the noise detail. And we're gonna take the mask and we're gonna just play with it. We're going a little too far, and then we're gonna blend it into the skin. But 1-2% noise, really, it very rapidly becomes very noticeable and artificial with that noise node. So now we're going to do the nose, and we're just going to cut out the very bottom portion. And nose there's a very iconic look to the spline, because we're going to want to we want to have the length of the nose not included, so we had the little dip, but we want to preserve the contrast at the very end of it. I can hear my cat snoring in the microphone. It's not really snoring. She just kind of makes funny sleeping noises. So we're going to grab position, rotation, and this track forward and back. You can notice that this entire workflow repeats. There's only a few steps that you do, and they repeat over and over. It's just knowing just the circumstances and what you do with them. So we're gonna adjust the fall off, but because the spline, for me at least, you don't have the graphic interface for it. We set the initial fall off, the in and out, and then we go switch the spline. And the keyframes, we have access to actually pulling out the spline and pulling out how far the individual vertexes shade out. The interface was really, really handy. I think it's just anything other than Windows 7. Yeah, that's the only thing that doesn't come in from a modernization standpoint for me. So now we have our nodes and our single source, and that splits off into 2 layers. And now we can see how simultaneously these 2 layers are being procedurally generated. So we're going to split the view. We're going to look at one side through the finished composite and the other side through the paint. So we can see how we're softening the skin a little bit on the right side, and we can see how that comes through on the left side. So we're going to take a little pock mark on the forehead, little divot there. We're just going to paint that out a little bit. Then we can grab the home and pan button and move around. And we can see what we're doing and what we should focus on through kind of the skin softening layer. And again, I'm totally against blurs, but there is maybe a 2 pixel blur on top of it that is necessary for rougher skin to kind of just soften out the higher frequency detail. So there we go, we painted it out. So at the composite bakes everything into just a flat image. So we're going to work on top of that, and we're going to get the RE flex warp. This comes in every version of Combustion has RE flex warp. And we're going to create a spline. Even though this is an After Effects plugin, and I don't think even After Effects comes with it. I mean, Combustion is capable of running After Effects plugins. So we're going to take it and we're going to grab our inner eye, and we're going to do the rotation. Doing scale in Combustion really doesn't work out most of the time. I'm just going to put that out there. But the rotation works great. So now we see how the rotation animation modifies where our spline is, and we're just going to adjust and line up the spline to the edge of the nose. And we're going to duplicate it, and then when we move the duplicate spline, this is telling RE flex warp how to warp the image, where the image is being modified to. So now we're going to make another spline, and this is going to be our holdout matte. And we're going to animate we're going to track this. Roaming about 80%, analyze forward. Now make sure we get forward and backwards, make sure we get everything. Now we're going to go down to flex warp, and for the boundary, polygon 3 was our boundary. And for good measure, we're just going to do hold edges. And if we want a higher quality warp, the settings on the left help you do that. So now, without animate on, we're gonna shift over kind of this nose straightening warp. Give a little more of a defined, straighter nose there. And we bake all that back into a composite again. So we can see out of our reflex warp, we create a layer into another composite mode. And when you do that, it creates a light and a camera. If we're working in the 3D environment, and it's kind of a pseudo 3D environment in a combustion, then we would need a light and a camera, but we're in a 2D interface here, 2D workspace. And the difference is just how you set it up. We're just doing 2D work here. So what you would do is you would cut out the other eyes, you would cut out the mouth, but it's more, you can see everything repeating itself. There's not a lot of complicated steps to this. It's getting the basics done and getting the basics done well. So when we're done, we're going to go File, Render, and now we have a brand new node at the end called Output, and we double click that to go back into the dialog settings. We have our ability to choose the file type. You have the ability to say how much of the timeline we're rendering, and then we're done, we hit Process, and it will just render away.